Get in the know. Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
You like that? 1, 2, 3. You like that? 3 teams have been 15-1 in the history of the National Football League. All right? Give yourselves a round of applause.
How about 16-1? First team to be 16.
Give yourself a round of applause.
Do it for Denny is what the slogan should be. This is Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment, where we would prefer the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die at some point. That'd be great. The show is presented by our friends over at TCL. TCL is one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. You can check out the new line of TCL TVs over at any local retailer. They have stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. Learn more at TCL.com. Also, a shout out to our friends at Surly Brewing Company, also sponsoring the show. Please show us your cans on Twitter, those Before I Die cans. Keep sending those in throughout this football weekend. Boys, every single Saturday, we go in and we ask some key questions about the upcoming Vikings games, and we make our official picks against the spread and straight up. This is the Purple Picks episode of Purple Daily here. Shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, first question. Scale of 1 to 10. How big is this game against the Dallas Cowboys?
Boy, I think this game's incredibly important. You are now tied for the best record in the NFC. You lose that on a tiebreaker, but certainly have an opportunity here to gain some steam with a win again in conference. Start of a 3-game homestand. I'm going to put this at a 9. I think this game's incredibly important.
For me, it's a 7. 7 out of 10. I think it is a very important game. It's more people are still talking about, is this a bigger game for Dak and the Cowboys to prove, right? And even with the Dallas Cowboys being favored in this game, which I still am trying to really wrap my head around, I still haven't really gotten a really good concrete explanation or landed on a good reason why they're favored. But I think the Vikings have a chance here to get a big NFC win, and if Dallas is nipping on their heels potentially as a 2 seed, which is still obviously possible, you still have to get this game. So this is a 7 out of 10 for me.
It's this game. It depends on the lens that you're viewing this through. If it's through, can you win the division? It doesn't. This game doesn't matter anymore. Like the Packers lost again last night. But if the goal is get the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs and play home playoff games until the Super Bowl, then this game is it's a 9. I'm kind of reserving 10. I don't know, but I'm with Judd on this one. It is a highly important game. I would also say too that as you look to check boxes, what might you face in the playoffs? You might have to face an overtime, emotional, road game or something or whatever, a hard-fought back and forth game or a big emotional comeback, and then you have to play 6 or 7 days later and come back with the same energy and everything. So how do you respond after a huge emotional victory over the Bills? Do you come out flat like they did against the 49ers after the Saints playoff win? After they did against the Eagles after the Saints Minneapolis Miracle? So how do you come out after a big emotional win is a new test for this team. So I'm giving it a 9. Next question. Is anyone playing or coaching for their jobs this weekend?
On the Vikings side, I think the answer is no, because we have previously thought, especially earlier in the season, that Ed Ingram was, and it's proven that he's simply not. So, no, I don't think that anybody is playing, and especially not coaching for their jobs. I think everyone is in pretty good shape at this point as to what their assignment and mission is.
Okay.
I don't think anyone's necessarily playing for their job necessarily, no. I mean, the two culprits, right, we've been really talking about a lot for the last few weeks are Ed Ingram, who is stepping on quarterback's feet, so please stop stepping on quarterback's feet, Ed Ingram, and then Shannon Sullivan, who probably is actually going to have to play a little bit more with Cam Dantzler's injury, that he's on IR for a few more weeks. So I don't know if anyone's really coached for their job. They've luckily have avoided, knock on wood, major injuries. We'll see the status of Christian Darrisaw, who had a concussion, but mostly this team stayed relatively healthy. I don't know if major changes are coming because of a loss potentially to the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about like the weak links are Ed Ingram, but I think they would have made a change by now. I mean, maybe if he has like one more total train wreck game or something, they would make a move. But on defense, everything is not like fully clicking or anything. But there's nothing on defense where you would say this guy's about to lose his job to that guy. Plus, the cornerbacks are banged up, so they're just looking for guys that can play right now at some of those positions. And offensively, besides Ed Ingram, everything's been clicking pretty well. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say no on this one. Okay, what is the biggest storyline you're interested in this week?
You brought it up, and it's this. How do you bounce back? The Buffalo game is one of the great, it's an unbelievable game, intensity high, huge win. I know it's not an in-conference win, but you go on the road, you come back from 17 down, you get praised. The national press praises you. The local fans love you. And now you got to come back and play a tough game at home before a crowd that's going to expect a really great game again. And this is a tough one. We can say, well, the professionals, they should, but I mean, we, to your point, Phil, have certainly seen where the Vikings have not bounced back. And I think that there is an emotional investment made in the Bills game that doesn't make it easy at 3:25 on Sunday to flip a switch. So what I want to see is that bounce back. How do you bounce back? And my expectation is they're going to bounce back well, but it's just an expectation until I actually see that happen.
Mm-hmm.
For me, how do you slow down someone like Micah Parsons, who has turned himself into one of the best defensive players in the NFL? And it's pretty amazing, too, considering that guy's played only, 25 games in his NFL career. And I think going into the NFL Top 100, he was rated like the 14th best player. Imagine playing only 17 games in your first NFL career, and you're literally viewed as one of the 15 best players in the NFL at a position, too, that I think we always overlook at linebacker because it's not as sexy as quarterback, wide receiver, defensive end. So how do you respond to that and making sure that you can hold up Kirk okay? Where is Micah Parsons on the defense, and can you avoid him or can you try to limit him from making a big play and stopping your offense?
Man, I think the biggest storyline here is it's kind of what Judd said. It's can you bounce back, but it's can you win a game without having to come back in the fourth quarter and disappear for an hour offensively? Can you just win a game decisively? Now, Vegas is saying we don't think it's decisive at all. In fact, we think the Cowboys are a better team despite the record difference. That's why the Cowboys were favorites and still remain favorites, which we'll get to. But I think that is the biggest remaining storyline question here for the pundits, the talking heads, the odds makers. Can the Vikings create separation? Are they going to keep walking this tightrope every single week and winning these close games where they have to claw their way back? That's where the skepticism originates from. Mm-hmm. And, the Cowboys have tended to be a team that can just kind of fold it up. And that second half against the Packers, that could go one of two ways for this Cowboys team. It could ignite them. Hey, that's never happening again. Let's come back and show who we are. Or they could go off the rails here and the Vikings could help contribute to their demise. So if it's the second thing, then the Vikings probably throttle the Cowboys and get some more respect when they're 9-1 on Monday when all the talking heads start chirping around. So, okay, and then the next question before we get to the actual picks, what scares you? I know we've talked about Micah Parsons already, so maybe he's the biggest answer, but what scares you the most about this opponent and this game?
Well, yeah, probably Parsons first, just because there isn't a chance that if he is lined up against the wrong people, that it's going to be an issue. But I will give you another one that scares me because I think it's a legitimate scare based on one of the first times that the Vikings have had some issues with injuries, and that is Dantzler's out. Caleb Evans didn't practice on Thursday, and there's a good chance because of concussion problems that he won't play. That cornerback spot scares me. So who starts there? Booth Jr. came in, and not surprisingly against Buffalo, the Bills picked on him with Diggs. He struggled. He got taken out. And so I guess my question is, who starts there? And, Dak Prescott's going to attack that. CeeDee Lamb is damn good. And Peterson so far has never matched up. So like, you can't just say, well, they'll put Patrick Peterson on that guy, because from the defense that Donatel plays, we have never seen that yet. So that starting right cornerback position gives me some cause for pause as far as how much it might get exploited.
Yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons is obviously a really good player, and just making sure that you can limit him. Dak has kind of been also just slow out the gate since coming back from injury. Is there a big game in him somewhere, right? Like, is there an explosive game? And they're coming off, obviously, a kind of really crushing loss against the Packers from last Sunday. So is there a Dak revenge game in there where he kind of shows up and balls out? We haven't seen him do that yet this season. So is there some type of maybe like sleeping giant in there that the Vikings are probably maybe overlooking, where he could come out and take over that game? The Vikings have played the Cowboys, I believe now 4 straight years. They played them in 2019, 2020, 2021, the last 2 against backups and Cooper Rush and Andy Dalton that you lost, by the way. So is there something in Dak Prescott that maybe we're sleeping on and we're not really taking enough credit for?
I'm going to build off the Micah Parsons stuff here. So how about this? Dallas's defense has the most sacks in the NFL, 35 sacks so far through 9 games. So that's a lot. And then they have the second highest pressure rate at 30% of dropbacks. They create pressure of some kind. Also worth noting, they are the 5th heaviest blitzing team in the NFL too. So in addition to just getting organic pressure, they send an extra man on 1 of every 3 passing plays, basically. So you're going to see a barrage in this game of applied pressure, organic pressure. You're going to have to deal with it. This is one of those games where I know that if the Vikings offensive line collapses a little bit, people are going to freak out. But like, the offensive line will not hold up for 3 hours against the Cowboys. And it's going to be up to the Vikings and Cousins and hot routes and everything, and Kevin O'Connell to find a way to still move the ball. Some chipping,
some chip
TJ
blocks?
Hawkinson and Dalvin Cook. Yes.
Football.
But the answer, so what I'm saying is the general pressure here is going to be a problem. The answer isn't create a brick wall and prevent all pressure. The answer is, in the face of pressure, can you have some play designs and some composure that create big plays over the top? That's going to be, to me, the biggest fear for the Vikings. How do they handle the pressure of Dallas's defense? If you've got a feeling about this game or other games, maybe Prize Picks is the place you should go. The easy way to play daily fantasy. You pick between 2 and 5 players and an over/under on their projections. You can win up to 10 times on any entry. Prize Picks offers every major sport: NFL, NBA, college sports, PGA, which is firing back up here. You can even run mixed sports entries as well. So promo code NORTH and Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's promo code NORTH. That also tells them that we helped send you over, that you can help us by entering the promo code NORTH on the Prize Picks app or prizepicks.com. Daily fantasy made easy. Also, we've got our SKOR North and Purple Daily merchandise store open. It is very simple. SKORNorth.com/shop. That's SKOR North. SKORNorth.com/shop for your Victory Monday hoodies and shirts. Your Just One Before I Die hoodies and shirts. We've got Hawk Season Purple Daily shirts available as well, and some other stuff in there. So thanks to everyone this is our first real venture into just swag and merch. And so we gotten some feedback. We're definitely looking at, we're taking some of the feedback, also looking at how to make this thing better too. But thank you for supporting us and anyone who's bought anything here over the last couple of weeks. All right, you guys ready to actually pick the game here? Go on the record.
I got it.
Okay. So let's start with this information. Dallas, as of the recording of this podcast, is a 1.5-point favorite in most sports books. 52% of the bets are now on the Vikings, but 79% of the money is on the Cowboys.
Interesting.
So this tells you that even though there's more tickets on the Vikings, that maybe there's people with more money to spend, or sharks, if you will, that are pumping money into the Cowboys here, thinking analytically, even though the records are different, the Cowboys are a better process so far this year. Therefore, it's going to even itself out. According to Action Network, So the Vikings right now have an 88% win percentage on the year, 8 out of 9, right? Teams with an 88% win rate or higher that are listed as home underdogs are 37 and 22 against the spread the last 20 years. So they fare well against the spread. The last time a team with their starting quarterback, so not starting a backup, that was a home underdog in November or later with this good of a record was the 2015 Panthers with Cam Newton as the starter. They were 2-point dogs at home against the Packers, and they won that game over Green Bay 37-29. So it's not often that a team with an 8-1 record or better this late in the season is a home underdog with its starting quarterback. The last time it happened, it worked out well for the home underdog. We brought this up last week, worth mentioning again. Kirk Cousins in games that start at noon or earlier for London, 46 and 34 against the spread. Games that start later, so this is a late afternoon window or later, he is 20 and 30 against the spread. And then one more nugget for you guys. Dak Prescott in his career is 38% against the spread against above 500 opponents. And then Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott together have struggled as a duo against good offenses. They are 3-5 straight up and 2-6 against the spread against teams that average 24 points per game or more, which the Vikings do. So a lot of interesting data here to digest. We'll start with Judd. Who's going to win? Who's going to cover? Dallas is a 1.5-point favorite, remember.
Judd,
You're
you're
muted. Yeah. Just click that little button.
Excuse
there.
me. I
There you
coughed.
go.
I coughed and I
It's okay.
muted
You're good.
myself because of my reoccurring coughing problem of late. Okay, the 2022 Vikings have made nothing simple, and I don't see why they would start now in a game like this where Dallas is a good team, a formidable foe coming off a very tough loss in Green Bay. I think they're going to bounce back with a strong game. But that's not going to stop Kevin O'Connell's team. Vikings 28, Cowboys 27.
Oh, interesting.
So you're basically you're threading a nice needle here, specifically predicting the Vikings to win. No, both. You're picking both, I guess.
They'll cover, yeah.
I got you.
But it's going to be. But what I'm saying is, this is not the game in which I think you're going to get a blowout from either side. I think it's going to be incredibly close. I think the Cowboys are either very close or they are in the same bin that we talked about earlier this week among NFC teams, where there's a group of teams that are just good, and I think these are two teams that are just good.
Yeah.
I think this is finally the blowout game for the Vikings that they haven't had in a long time. So they beat the Packers in week 1 handedly. Outside of that, right? Every single game that they've won this season has been one possession. It's been, clenching teeth and sometimes, but regardless, they've picked up the wins. I think this is the big win for the Vikings. I think the Vikings win 27-17. They win 27-17. They win by 10 points. Double-digit win for the Vikings against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys.
It's going to be a clean sweep pick in the Vikings here. I think the Vikings win. I'm with Declan. I don't know if it's a blowout, but I think they bounce back from the emotional win. And I don't trust Dallas. I don't trust Mike McCarthy. I don't think Dak is dynamic. Dak and Kirk are kind of similar in that they're very good quarterbacks. Kirk has a little bit more of a magical clutch gene this year than Dak. Dak was banged up for a while, too. I think the Vikings have the better set of weapons. Dallas might have the better defense, but Vikings playing at home. I'm going to say Vikings by about a touchdown. Something like 27 seems right. I'm going to say like 30-21 kind of a situation. So maybe a 2-score game for the Vikings. And if that happens, Judd's labrums are going to be sore.
Yeah, you know what? CeeDee Lamb scares me. Full disclosure, that right cornerback scares me.
He should, but Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson should.
I just
scare
think the Vikings
Dallas,
might
too.
give up some points here, some deep
They may.
shots down the field.
They may.
Gonna have
They
to
may.
match
So
it.
there it is. All right, Vikings. We've been waving the flag a lot this season. We all have the Vikings beating Dallas. And don't forget Vikings Vent Line right after the game is over. The most fan-friendly interactive show in all of Minnesota sports. The email to get on the show to put in your request, and we'll take as many people as we can in like an hour and a half, but it's vikingsventline@gmail.com. vikingsventline@gmail.com. See you guys.